Welcome, beloved mighty companions. Another day listening to what Jesus has to say, asking him if he'll help us. That's probably the hardest part, is not asking for help enough. When that little help request is constant, see, the constant prayer of the heart is only to know God and his kingdom. Then the kingdom comes. Thy will be done. Yeah, that's a desire in consciousness, to pretend like we have a will, that there could possibly be a will apart from the Father. Jesus, do I desire an experience with a will apart from the Father? To pretend like my will is more important than thy will? I'm willing to see it. Am I following your will, Father, for me, for perfect happiness? He says, when you look with me at everything, leave nothing. Leave nothing. No little scraps of hell for us. No little itsy bitsy teeny weeny little twitches. We can ask Jesus if that's hell. He's saying it's compromise. That's compromising infinite. Yeah, in the play of consciousness, we really don't see what compromise is. That's well hidden. And not even knowing what we're saying no to. We just say yes and no, like a little reflex, boom. Yes to this, no to that. Yet in both yeses and nos are saying no to infinite light, because it's saying yes to the ego and no to infinite. That's not seen, because it's the play of consciousness is to hide that in the idea of choice. Like, I can say yes and make a better choice, or no and make a better choice. That's what yes and no is about in consciousness. The idea that I can make a better choice. But what would that choice be for? Like, even if choice was true, what would that be for, to have choice? What would that get? Jesus says nothing. See, what it gets is the idea that we can have a better future. Because if we make a better choice, then we can have a better future. But what Jesus is talking about, no future whatsoever. So he asks, what does choice really give you? If you had all your choices exactly like you wanted to choose, what does that get you? What do you believe choice will get? Well, in the play of consciousness, it's a belief that we would have more happiness and less unhappiness through choice. But it's actually, choice only gives you pleasure or pain. And they're both the same. We're always fighting Jesus for the right to have a choice when we're choiceless by nature. Jesus is the very nature of my identity, choiceless. That's why it's called choiceless awareness. So it's the idea that choice is real is all the suffering. You can ask them. Is that true, Jesus? So if the moment it arises that there's a belief that choice is real, okay, we'll see where he's going with this for sure. I don't know. That's when it really gets a point. You have no idea what you're going to say. And he's saying, just take a look at what you think choice is getting you to see if you've ever gotten it. That's a really, I never really, obviously, I hadn't really thought about that. But what would choice do for us, really? That's what we're fighting them for. Because choice, there has to be two. Choose this one or this one. But consciousness really likes more to not even show that it's two. It likes to pretend like it's a buffet. And that will be limited from this smorgasbord of buffet. So the ego makes the buffet of potential ideas and concepts and choices. And then consciousness that makes it, and through the desire to experience it, then gets mad because there's something on the buffet it doesn't get. So it makes the buffet, and then it because it wants an experience, here's a buffet of choices, so it can react to its own buffet as though it's real. Is that really working too well? Well, part of it's hidden that we don't see that we made the buffet. Jesus, did I make the buffet of seeming choices that and spread it out, you know? Did I make a little, I only get yes when I ask them a question. Did I make, they go, yep. But then we can see how truly powerful we are. Just get a smidgen taste. He says the world doesn't come close to the power that you are. Because the world is made for you to feel powerless. I said, Jesus, I guess we're talking about powerlessness. He says, yes, we're going to talk. Okay, must need to hear it. Here it comes. Because you can see that voice is always for you, for me to hear. The play of powerlessness. Choice is powerlessness. You can ask Jesus. Jesus is choice power. Yes. The desire to play like you have no power. Because the consciousness is going to play like there's a better choice all the time. Jesus, am I always playing like I could make a better choice all the time? He says all your worries are about some better choice. You think you can choose better for you than your Father can. Jesus, do I believe I can choose better than the Father? That's what this world is, trying to make a better choice than what the Father planned. The Father just planned happiness. Is that the only Father plan, Jesus? Supreme happiness is the Father's plan. So, yeah, he's reminding me. So if we're not in the Father's plan for supreme happiness, that means we're in the choice plan, the smorgasbord plan of no to God. Where we need to learn that we need help. Yeah, I'm starting to see like the prayer, he's got the song of prayer there. Look at that again. I told him, I said, Jesus, I want to just start at the top. That's how I would pray to him. I'd say, okay, I just put everything on the table. And the only thing I want to pray for is the highest rung. Like, I don't want to dink around. Well, if he's telling us it's the top rung, you know, like don't, but what we don't see is that, because it's good to practice, like, just because infinite light doesn't want anything. We can see the light just is. It's not, it, prayer is communion with what is. Like, we're so used to prayer. I'm going to ask for something and then I'm going to get it. You see, asking and receiving. I'll ask God for it. And if it looks like a Maserati, I'll be happy, you know. And while you're at it, I'd like the Batmobile. You know, that's how, you know, he talks about the ladder of prayer. You know, first we're asking for things, and that my children be safe. But look at the presupposition just under that. May my children be safe. The presupposition is that your children are not safe. It's possible for them not to be safe. So the intention for all of us is to move up the ladder of prayer. But until we see that prayer, we're manifesting prayer all the time. This manifestation is a prayer answered, and that's a prayer for objective experience through desire for it. Desire is a prayer. It's praying for what can't happen. It's praying for the Son of God to be less than what he is, which is whole and complete, under the subconscious mind. It's like, Jesus, why does all this stuff come up? Why do I feel like I want to kill somebody? Because under the awareness is a prayer to kill light from the awareness. So he has to show us where we're praying for something that is not real. All the prayer under there in the catacombs of consciousness. Because we suppressed out of awareness the prayer for death. And he's saying that was helpful. So I just pray to him, and I just, when I was doing the course, it's like, I don't care about anything other than this. And I just put everything, I give everything to you. But what I see in that, which is a great start for all of us, but then now I see, without having him, like we would talk about the metal detector on the beach, because we hid our treasure all over the beach to hide it from ourselves. And the treasure is the miracles. We hid miracles, like all this infinite love, and we seemingly spread it out on a timeline and form. And really, until we have just the fastest way, there's lots of ways to wake up. Just cease to deny, period, boom, done. And if the fastest way, he's providing, follow me, turn on the metal detector on the beach. Now you can accidentally just be digging in the sand and sitting there, and you might find a diamond ring or something on the beach, and it happens. But you're probably going to find more metal on the beach with a metal detector. And you got to turn it on, which is the same as asking Jesus, okay, Jesus, I know that I buried my treasure. I've hidden my treasure from myself, the treasure of all that the Father has given me. So now my prayer is show me. That's the new prayer. Turn on the metal, invite Jesus in, turn on the metal detector, and then you just start following the beeping. Is this where I look? And then you go down with them, and then he shows you, okay, Jesus, show me the desire, the prayer that I'm praying for hell. Show me where I'm praying for hell in all these little places in the subconscious mind, relishing it. And then we look directly with him. It saves a lot of time. No story. He's in control of the miracle. He knows when the miracle's complete. He's reminding me, you do not even know when you've had a miracle. That was such a surprise. Shouldn't be a surprise. It was a when he started showing me, you do not even know, because consciousness denies miracles. So that's why he says to us, you cannot know your advances from your retreats. And the ego's its favorite thing to know is advances from retreats. This cannot be known. It doesn't have like a little awakening scorecard. You know, you can pull it out. Okay, here's what I've accomplished so far to prove that you're heading into the infinite. Just the infinite is the light test. That's it. Is the light on in there? Do I still, is the infinite light still shining? That's it. That's the light test. Now, is the light peaceful? In our direct experience as light beings, it doesn't have any lists. We can check it to see if it has any lists in there. I think I've said that, told that story. You know, someone asked me about mystical experience. It's just you won't even know when you have them. How's that? Because we're so used up. Somebody had to tell me. I couldn't. You know, all that is just the all these thoughts just fall away. But we can drop them. We don't need that to see it. But I'm going to talk to Jesus about it. He said it was just helpful at that time. It's willingness. When we willingness, then he arranges with the Holy Spirit for what you could call a mystical experience, but not to focus on it, because it's just a falling away of the untrue. And the way it was here is that the eye couldn't make a shopping list. There were no thoughts in there, because naturally we don't have thoughts. But the ego's just going, holy smokes, this is really, oh my gosh, I can't, make a shopping list. It was just like natural state. But the ego just goes, that's why he's not really emphasizing mystical experience, because as he said to me, you are a mystical experience unless you desire to experience something otherwise. It's your natural state not to have thoughts. Ask him. Jesus, is it a natural state not to have any thoughts at all? That's why Ramana Maharshi would always say silence is the highest teaching. Transmission. Not really. You can't really transmit anything, but it's the highest expression. And then it's the highest demonstration. Yet Jesus knows that addiction. We're like so addicted to thought. So addiction to the prayer for death that we have to keep asking him, show me all those little pockets of prayer. That's why chapter 20 is so helpful. And Muji would say, see that you're light, and that will clear forests. See that you're light, and look at chapter 20 with Jesus, that'll take out continents. Because then that's a direct look at all many of the denials. Jesus says they're not all there, but enough of them for you to develop a relationship with me. So whatever arises, you'll come to me. That's deep. So in chapter 20, he's just taking us from the Course, all those beliefs in the Course, and puts them right in front of us and be coached by him. Here's the desire. Look at this. Here's the desire. Look at this. You still want this. Jesus, do I still want this? And then where we have a deep prayer that we will not release to a miracle, where we're denying the miracle under there because we want to keep the prayer for death. But until we see that death wish prayer under there, like we've laughed about, because when because you do start laughing, it's hilarious. Like it's been just so helpful, just watching this whole thing around chapter 20 and just watching how, and beings talk about the whole avoidance of chapter 20 like a plague, because the ego knows it's toast, basically. It's because you just take a concentrated chunk out of the course, and you compact it together, all the beliefs, or a lot of the beliefs, not all of them. He says they're not all there, but like, again, there's enough to really develop a deep relationship and hear his voice and practice talking to him, and start seeing where the no to lights are just lined up like on a runway. It's just a straight shot for seeing where every prayer is to the no. And I'm asking him, if you go through it, is it valuable to go start over? If you're guided by me, he says start over. Because the first time you went through, you're kind of tiptoeing. He's saying you're going to tiptoe it, because you're trying to figure it out. And what does it mean? And, it just gets a deeper relationship with him. So it's worth the second was, what, man, I have to really work on this. No, you're going to see how light it gets and how hard you're going to laugh with your buddy. You're just going to laugh, just laugh. Because you'll see he's right again. He's right again. It's like the right again Jesus checklist. Because it's all those beliefs from a course right there. Like, you can't, all the prayer, subconscious prayer for not to be who we are, right there. Jesus, you can just about ask him. He's saying yes. You can just ask him, Jesus, I'm praying for something other than God right here. When you see those desires, I desire to have an experience of whatever it is, rejection. I desire an experience of rejection. Jesus, do I desire that? And then you hear him go, yep. And they go down till you say no. So the first time you're doing it, really, it's like riding a horse. Well, I've never ridden a horse. I can't. Well, riding a bike, almost everyone has, you kind of get on, you're a little wobbly at first, except this bike is being held in the back by Jesus Christ. So there's a little more stability. I mean, and he is fulfilling it too. I like told Beans, I did not know what it meant. Some of these things when I'm typing, I mean, you kind of think, I'm typing away on that chapter, and he's saying, this is a new way given by me. And I'm thinking, but I'm typing it. And every being can speak my voice. And then when I heard him say, and everyone can hear me as clear as hell. And I'm thinking, I could kind of hear him. There's a little bit, it's like, Jesus, that seems like a bold statement. And that I can hear him. He's going, that's your function. That's for you. That's for me. Because anything else would be untrue. Than for me to say one thing about a single brother, the love that everyone is, for me to say one thing less than every brother can speak Jesus. And the happiness of hearing the brother speak Jesus, oh my God. And we're hearing that in the chapter 20. Who could know? It just puts you on your knees hearing Anna Maria. I mean, that is the most adorable video. If you have not seen that yet, or even if you have, watch it again, because it is the fulfillment of his promise. And watching the beings, it's just precious beyond belief in these joining sessions. Isn't it? It's for us. It's for me. The fulfillment of his promise. You see, you can't do this without your brother. Because he would tell me something, and without the reflections coming back to follow him through all of you, and then have him say, everyone can hear me, and have these joining sessions so they can speak to me, and then just see the beings say things like, oh, I really can't talk to Jesus. And then the next thing that comes out of their mouth is, well, Jesus is telling me. It's a fulfillment of his promise to us in the Course. And we get to experience that together. That's just, we get to see the Course come alive as in direct experience of infinite light. And to just have such a direct, and as beings has said, such a gentle way. And to hear the comfort of his voice and fireside chats with him. That any being, to imply that any being cannot hear my voice in fullness now, would deny the Father's will. So that's really the only news, actually, of these light circles. That every being can hear Jesus, and clearly. There's no being that can hear Jesus any better than any other being. It's just some in the play of consciousness. If the prayer is so strong, do you see? If we have all these subconscious prayer that we don't see these desires, the desire for all kinds of experiences other than the voice for God, at first it will seem obscure. And because we're so used to not laying out the welcome mat. See, prayer is communion with Source. It's not asking for something, it's being everything. It's being all that is. Thank you for this reminder, Jesus. That's infinite right there. So at first it seems like we're asking Jesus questions. He says that's helpful because it's a turning in toward the truth. So that the Course, every line in the Course just, he says the thoughts of God are given for you to celebrate all that you are. They point up and they're for you to celebrate. To remind you that you're far beyond the idea that you think you are of who you are. Infinite love exactly as God made you. You don't need to pray for that. Not in the way of the world, pray God. But at first, he's talking to me about how when we talk to him, it turns the prayer from asking for things, for asking to be reminded of identity. Because I could see that prayer of wanting things, or wanting things to be, there's always a wanting. See, there's something missing. Like we're talking to God in prayer in its innocence, but we're always talking to God as though something's missing because of the desire to experience ourselves as missing something. And then talking to God like we're going to tell him what we really need. And so when we turn in and we talk to Jesus, all he does is point to what we are. Communion with Source. Communion with the totality. It just communes. I didn't understand, well, the play of consciousness was, go to Catholic Mass and you'd see Holy Communion held up. And what is that? Until you see the holies of holies. That's now. Every time they go like that, they're holding up not the body of Christ, although, because the consciousness focus on body. So that's kind of the play. No, they're holding up the reminder that God is first. Communion with Source is first. That's Holy Communion. Celebration of oneness as it is. It's like when we really get Holy Communion is just the holy instant where there's no asking for something. There's just giving and receiving as one. You can see in the light of divine being that giving and receiving is one. It doesn't have a ask for, then receive. But that's what we're used to. We're used to praying, and I'm going to ask for God, and then I'm going to get something. And then all those subconscious prayer, the subconscious prayer for something other than what's already communing with source at all times. You can ask Jesus. Is the only thing of value Holy Communion with source. He says you have no other function. And so we just look again with him in these joinings. He's giving a way that's so direct for us to look with our brother at the denials and to be helped hand in hand to heaven with our brother. And to welcome our brother into our hearts as we welcome ourselves into the heart of God. Do you see how those go together? We can't commune with God without our communing with our brother. It won't happen. You can ask Jesus. So the ego, for the fast means, like if you can if you meditate on infinite for a while, for long enough, you'll see that you're infinite, and ceasing to invest in what's arising and playing the game and ceasing to ask for what you already are. But there's so many plays below the level of awareness. And if I thought that for myself, this is just the way given for me, I can only talk about that one because that's what I know. And he's done enough in my heart for me to know he's right and I'm wrong. And that this is the way for me. And the fastest gentle, most fastest gentle means for me is talk to him and then have me show me every twitch. He said, this is the way to the peace that surpasseth understanding. This is the way to see that the kingdom of heaven is within indeed. So we just look for him, with him, at these ideas that sin is real. Through the desire to experience sin is real. As we say, this is the buck stops here method. Mm-hmm. To really see what we're choosing for. See, we don't even know we're choosing because it's so buried. Choosing is so buried. When, choosing against God is so buried underneath the level of awareness. But now we have the metal detector to go down the beach and find all the places and leave. And as we open our mind to Christ control, to give it all over, we're not giving anything, really. You can ask him, is the light giving anything over? Is the light sacrificing To feel like when you're light, can you find sacrifice anywhere in infinite light in your direct experience as a light being? So all we're doing is seeing through. And the beauty of this, you're not having to go delve into darkness and sort out darkness and go through, take your space shuttle through the dark. No, he's just saying, I will show you what's beyond the darkness. For your desire for the experience of darkness, for your desire for the experience of choice, when this denies divine light. And I'm asking him again, never too many times I can ask him and be reminded that this looking is the highest priority for us. You can ask him too, because you can all hear him. And that he will take and ask him, Jesus, are you going to take care of everything so I can spend all my time just looking with you and following you? To follow me is to step into divine function. And the ego is going to avoid that. So yes, the looking is valuable. Again, he keeps saying the plan is to follow me so that you can see that you can do everything I ask. And if you're not following me, you're still playing small. You're still holding back from yourself, he says. You're holding back from yourself when you don't follow me. You're denying yourself all that's given you by the Father. The powerlessness we started talking about first. You can ask him though, Jesus, when I don't follow you, am I choosing powerlessness? See, the ego, when Jesus makes a call, the ego goes, well, I just don't know how that's going to happen. Well, the I is not going to know how. That's the whole point. Well, I have so many things on my plate to do. Now here comes Jesus, who is asking, because we've called to him, he's putting out the invitation to show us everything that we are, but we're too busy. I have too much going. Which voice is that? I have lots of plans about how I'm going to wake up. Which voice? We always have to see which voice is speaking. So there will be lots and lots of stepping in where the ego says no, and ignoring it and doing like all the beautiful beings like Anna Maria. I didn't want to come. Here she is in the circle. Now, do you see how the ego would avoid that circle? The ego is going to avoid the circle, light circle, like a plague. It likes the plague more than it would want to talk to Jesus, the ego. But she stood with it and then could hear his voice so clearly, and to hear that he's been with her all along. This is a gift beyond compare for all of us. Now, just have a thought about a group of mighties that all hear Jesus together with the clarity of a bell, just perfectly crystalline clear, hearing Jesus together. And that's the team he's put together for us to support each other in this. That is the rocket ship, as several beings have said, this is the rocket ship. Amen, Jesus. I thank you for it too. Thank you, beloved mighties, for joining us every day. Your devotion is so inspiring. And as I've said, the joy of hearing each of you speak Jesus, it's just like, beautiful. We love you.